I am so excited to get into this episode because I'm going to do a little bit differently. I'm going to incorporate some things that I've seen over my 20-year career in the military, but I'm also going to tell you why it is important that your team not only understands what the standard is for your business and how to interact with your clients, but you also leverage their strengths. Are you ready? Let's get into it. Welcome to More Than a Brand, the podcast for growth stage service business CEOs who are tired of watching clients they've already earned quietly walk out the back door while they keep spending money to bring new ones in the front. I'm Lindsay Tramel-Jones, the CEO of Fiercified Consulting. I'm a client relationship strategist and an Army veteran. This show is about the one thing most business advice skips entirely: the relationship your team builds with clients every single day. This isn't about marketing. It is about the relationship. You've done the hard part. Let's make sure your team can sustain what you built. This is More Than a Brand. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's say you hired someone great and they're not just capable, not someone that you're like, all right, this is good enough for government work. Like someone whose skills complemented exactly what you need. Their values felt aligned. And they showed up to the interview and said all the right things. Of course, you hire them. And once you hire them, you give them your SOPs. You walk them through the onboarding. You introduce her to your clients. And you watch her perform well in the first few weeks. And then somewhere, let's say around month 2 or 3, something shifted. And it wasn't like a dramatic, oh my God, I can't believe you said that shift. It was just a quiet drift. Let's say she starts responding to leads in a way that felt just a slightly little bit off brand or a little more transactional because you built that relationship. There should be some warmth behind it. Or maybe the follow through was there and the task was done, but the standard was just and once you notice those things, your first instinct is to ask if something was wrong personally. Like, are you overwhelmed? Was something going on at home? Was she losing interest in the role? And let's say she says everything's fine. And for all intents and purposes, she is telling the truth. Nothing is wrong with her, particularly. Everything was wrong with the situation. What you saw unfold was not a performance problem. It was a standards problem. What happens is when there is no standard on how to build relationships with customers, people are going to default to their own natural style, their instincts about how to work with clients. And it's not her fault. If the standard she was supposed to be delivering was never made explicit enough for her to come back to, she's just going to go with what she knows. And you don't know what you don't know. And here's the part that makes this really important. And the part that sucks the most about this entire situation is that the client is going to notice before you do. And that is what we're talking about today. So y'all know I'm going to keep it 100 with you. And this is the part I want to make sure I say clearly, because most business content dances around this, and I'm not going to, because that's not what we're here for. When you build a service business, you build it on a relationship standard. And that standard is your standard. And when I say your standard, I mean by the way you show up in a difficult client conversation, the follow through that happens without being asked, the way you remember what matters to every person you work with. Listen, the consistency a client can count on, regardless of what else is happening, is something that you delivered when you were a young, scrappy founder. Unfortunately, you didn't write that down. You didn't have to. And it was because it was based off your lived instincts, shaped by your values, your discipline, and your experience. Why would you write it down? And for a long time, that was enough because you were doing everything. You were the CEO, the CFO, the graphics, the marketing. You was all the pieces. So you were the standard. But then you grew and you had to hire because you can't be everywhere and you can't do all the jobs. However, your relationship standard for your clients never got transferred to your team. Now, this next part is something that comes up specifically with veteran-owned service businesses, because I hear it all the time. Things like, my team is operationally excellent. First of all, we not writing evaluations. Or they say they execute, they deliver results, they show up on time and do the work. And that is absolutely true. When a team is built with someone with a military mindset, the team members are often extraordinary operators, precise, reliable, good under pressure. But the gap that nobody talks about is operational excellence and relational consistency. Those are two different standards. You can run a flawless process and still leave clients feeling like a transaction, feeling like another number. You can deliver excellent client work on time, on budget, on scope, and still lose a renewal because the client never felt like they mattered to the team beyond deliverable. I've heard people say their work is excellent, but I don't really like them as people. That causes people not to refer you and not to come back. And unfortunately, we always think it's a skills problem, especially being a person with a military background. And it's not always a skills problem. It's a standards problem. You are not meeting the standard, friend. And the standard that is missing isn't warmth or personality. It's not asking your team to be something that they're not. It's the relational equivalent of what every military unit already understands. Everyone needs to know their role. Everyone needs to know their touch point. Everyone needs to execute to the same defined standards using their abilities. Now let's take it one step further. So we talked about there should be a standard, yes, and we'll get more into that. But let's talk about how the first person you hired, let's say your OG, they learned a relationship standard by being in the room with you. So she got a pretty good version, let's say maybe 80%. The next person got her version from the person who had already been translated once. So she absorbed the 80% version, not the original like your OG did. And then your newest hire, she got the onboarding document, the task list. She's filling out the rest with her own instincts. So right now in your business today, you don't have one team delivering one client relationship standard. You have them delivering different versions of it from each member on your team. Research shows that 68% of clients leave service businesses because they felt unappreciated. 34% leave because of perceived indifferences, and 18% leave because of inconsistent experience. That's more than half of all client churn caused by exactly what I just described. Your clients are not leaving because your team is bad at their job. They're leaving because your team is inconsistent. And inconsistency in service businesses almost always come back to the same root cause. A relationship standard was never built for the whole team. So let's go back to these three different versions of your business that your three team members are delivering. And as I describe them, I want you to think about your own team. Think about the people you have. And if you have three people, you're going to recognize all three. So let's go with version 1, your OG, the original that's been here. This person who was there when you were building. She watched you handle your first difficult client conversation. She was in the room when you adjusted on the fly because you read the client's energy and knew the original approach was not going to land. She's seen you stay on a call 30 minutes longer than you planned because the client needed to feel heard before they can move forward. She does not do it exactly the way you do, but she understands the standard and she gets the why behind the how. When a client hits a rough patch, she knows to slow down and connect before she solves. Think of it this way. If you have ever served in uniform, you know what it means for a junior soldier to absorb the standard of a senior leader just by being in proximity. You watch how they handle pressure. You observe how they communicate up the chain, down the chain. You see how they manage the people around them in moments that were never covered in training. You internalize the standard before anyone formally teaches it. That is exactly what your original did. She absorbed your relationship standards by proximity. She's delivering maybe 80 to 85% of it. Before we keep going, I want to take 30 seconds to talk about something. If you are a growth stage service business CEO with a team of 3 or more people and clients are coming in but consistently not coming back, I want you to hear this. 68% of clients leave not because of price, not because of competitor, but because they felt unappreciated. That is not a marketing problem. That is a relationship problem, and it almost always lives in how your team shows up when you are not in the room.
Flow Tribe is the engagement I built to fix that. 2 weeks, 4 lessons, your whole team. We diagnose exactly where the relationship is breaking down using your Flow Lab data. And then we train the team to build a standard that holds without you holding it together. If this sounds like something you've been looking for, go apply at fierceified.agency. I review all the applications personally, and I can't wait to see you in Flow Tribe. All right, back to the episode.
Gap is small enough that most clients don't feel it. This person is your most valuable team member, and she is also your biggest single point of risk, because if she leaves, she takes all that absorbed version of the standard with her, and nobody else on the team has that same depth. All right, now let's move into version 2 of what people are delivering. Let's call this the middle hire. This person joined when you were a little further along. You had more structure by then. Things were documented, clearer process. You had less time to sit with her and walk through all the nuances. So what she got was an onboarding. She got SOPs. She watched the original for a few months and picked up some of the tone and the rhythm, but she missed the why. She knows what great looks like in the situations you planned. She is less sure about the ones you didn't. She's sitting here thinking they didn't train me for this. When something unusual happens with the client, a delay, a miscommunication, a moment where the relationship needs to be held carefully, she handles it competently, but the client does not feel quite as taken care of as they do when the original handles it. So what she is delivering is maybe 60 to 70% of the standard. Now, that's where the gap is visible to clients who have been around for a long enough time to know the difference. Now, version 3, Lord help her. She joined in the last few months. She got the most polished version of your onboarding because you've been working this thing. So the most complete SOPs, the clearest role description, and she's working hard. She's doing everything that you ask, but she has never seen you with the client. She's never watched your original navigate a difficult moment. She has not yet had enough experience in your business to understand what the relationship standard actually feels like in practice. So she is using her own instincts, which are not wrong, because you hired her because she's a good person. And her values align. They're just hers. She is showing up to your clients with genuine effort and completely different approach than the one that made those clients choose your business in the first place. So what she is delivering is maybe 40 to 50% of your standard. And it's not because she's failing. It's because nobody ever transferred it to her. And here's what I want you to sit with. These 3 people are on the same team. They are representing the same brand. They are in front of the same clients. And they are delivering 3 different experiences. The clients who have been with you the longest feel the inconsistency. They can't always name it, but something has shifted in how it feels to work with your business. And the newest clients, the ones that came after the newest person joined, they have never experienced the original standard at all. They only know the translated version. I told you I was going to do this episode a little bit differently, so I want to name something specifically for my veteran-owned businesses out there. And I say this with the fullest respect because I have lived in this culture myself for almost 20 years, a few months shy of 20. And sometimes when I talk about relationship standards with founders who come from a military background, there is resistance. Y'all know how we do. It sounds like soft skills training. It sounds like asking your team to perform warmth and don't nobody care about those feelings and doing things they may not naturally have. Like you're trying to turn operators into salespeople. And I hear that. I want to address it directly. Flow Tribe does not ask your team to be something they're not. It does not hand everyone the same script and make them deliver it with a smile and say, my pleasure. It does not ask your most analytical person to suddenly become the most emotional, expressive person in the room. What it does is something more precise than that. It identifies what each person on your team is already naturally good at, the strengths they bring to every client interaction, and builds a shared standard around those strengths so that every client gets a consistent experience no matter who they're talking to. So your direct communicator does not have to become the warmer. If she needs to know that directness delivered with clarity and follow through is her specific contribution to the relationship standard, then that's what we're going to do. Or your most detail-oriented person does not need to become a chatter. You don't need to be a chatty Cathy. She needs to know that precision and reliability are exactly what the client needs from her touch point in the customer journey and while building that relationship. The standard defines what the client should experience. The team defines how they should deliver it. And that's the difference between a script and a standard. A script tells everyone what to say, and a standard tells everyone what great looks like and trusts them to get there using exactly what they are best at. So think about it this way. A military unit does not function by making every soldier the same. Everybody ain't going to be the best. It functions by giving every soldier a clear role that plays to their specific strengths or job and holding everyone to the same mission standard. The soldier who is extraordinary with, I'll say, taking photos because I'm in public affairs and visual information, does not operate like the one who's good at logistics. Their styles are completely different. Their way their brain thinks is different. And their strengths are different. Just overall, the way they show up is different. But they are both executing to the same standard, both accountable to the same mission, and both clear on what success looks like for their specific role. That is exactly what FlowTribe builds for client relationships inside your business. Not a team of people who all show up the same way. We don't need a bunch of clones. It's a team of people who each know their touch point, play to their strengths at that touch point, and deliver a consistent client experience because the standard was built around what the whole team is actually capable of doing together, not in the individual silos. Your original doesn't need to be replicated. Your newest person doesn't need to become the original. She needs a standard that was built with her role in mind, one she helped design, one she owns, and the one she can deliver authentically because it was a build around what she's actually good at. That is the standard that holds. Before I close out this episode, I want to leave you with one question. If you pulled your whole team together tomorrow, every person who touches the client relationship from customer facing to the back end, and you ask each of them to describe in 2 sentences what a strong client relationship looks like in your business, would they all give you the same answer? Not word for word, but directionally. Would they describe the same standard, the same accountability, the same ownership of their specific role in the relationship? If the honest answer is yes, you have something most businesses never build. You have a relationship standard that lives in the team, not just in the CEO. If the honest answer is no, it's not failure. That's the most common situation in every service business I've ever walked into. And it's fixable. You don't have to ask your team to be different people to fix it, but you have to give them the clarity and the ownership and the accountability structure to deliver the same standard every time, regardless of who the client calls, what day it is, or whether you're in the room or not. The first step is seeing where the gaps are. FlowLab does exactly that in about 30 minutes. It's a free assessment tool that we've created, and it'll show you more about where your relationship standard is holding and where it's drifting. Go to flowlab.fierceified.agency. The link will be in the show notes. And if you're ready to bring your whole team into a room and build the standard together, that is FlowTribe. The applications are open, and you can learn more about FlowTribe at fierceified.agency. Thank you for being here. Listen to this episode. If it landed, share with the founder who's building a team and is tired of watching a great standard get translated instead of transferred. This is More Than a Brand, and I'll see you in the next episode.
I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Remember, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date. Find us on social media at fierceified.agency on Instagram, or find us on Facebook at Fierceified Creative and Consultant.